The Survivor specialist Phil, John, and McKenna are back with another defining episode. And today we are talking about Oscar. Popular demand. John and McKenna really wanted that because they call him Oscar so many times in this episode. We're still
Yeah.
early in season 13. So we have Ozzy, Dire Strengths, and Dead Weight, episode number 2 from Survivor Cook Islands. This is the episode where he throws a challenge so that Billy Garcia will be voted out of the game because he dislikes Billy that much. It was hard to think of what the defining episode for Ozzy was. He wins 5 of 6 individual immunity challenges in the second half of this game. But a lot of those episodes, he kind of gets overshadowed by Yule, or he gets overshadowed by Penner, or even Parvati in some instances. But in this episode, this is all about Ozzy, and he's the one who really does make this happen. And ultimately to the downfall of that tribe, because we then see Billy, Cecilia, JP, they're the next 3 boots. Ozzy is the only person from his original starting tribe who makes the merge.
Though
So
I will say, like, JP is on Raro.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't throw this, the thing, they lose Billy here, they do a tribe swap, and with the tribe swap coming, if you don't throw this challenge, you might be going in 5 strong, and maybe Billy is the easy person to get voted off so that JP or Cecilia stick around. So I'm just saying, Ozzy showing off
you should never throw a challenge, but
what the thing is in this moment, Ozzy is showing off some of his strategic abilities, whether that's for better or for worse.
I think this episode. Sorry, go ahead, McKenna.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think we picked this because we also see how, this episode encompasses Ozzy in every iteration we see him in. He's a little bit of a dick, and he has some tribe control and power. And I think this is like the perfect, like, it encompasses all of kind of what we see whenever we see Ozzy.
I think this really covers Ozzy in Cook Islands through South Pacific and the identity of this person we saw through that time. I know he's matured since then. I mean, we didn't really see him in Game Changers. What did he even do in that season? But I think, like, this defines Ozzy as we know him in Survivor. But in Survivor 50, that might be different because, believe it or not, he may have matured.
I agree. I think this would be, I think 50 will be his hopefully best self, but because, like, a lot of stuff life-wise has happened to him since Game Changers, so I hope we see a different side of Ozzy, because rewatching this, I was like holding out for the Raro moments with Parvati. Like, I was like, this is the only thing I want to focus on, and I'm being forced to focus on Ozzy right now.
I think what's very fascinating about this episode, especially knowing the legend of Ozzy. I mean, Ozzy's one of the most popular and beloved players in the history of the show. And he has such a fan base. Like, he was one of the people where, even if we're tired of seeing him, the casual fans love Ozzy. Great at challenges, good looking, like, gives good confessionals, easy guy to root for. When I'm watching this episode and we're only 2 episodes into this season and we don't know about him, I am saying to myself, so this was the guy we were all arguing should have been on the Heroes tribe, huh? Because he's very arrogant. And look, I understand that Billy is annoying. I get it, right? Billy is what Billy is. And obviously Billy has built a legend for himself in the Survivor community because of the Candace situation. And good for him. He's the most memorable 19th place boot ever. The thing is, though, the way Ozzy talks about him and treats him kind of borderline on, like, bullying this poor guy. Yeah. So it's interesting that by the end of the season, there's the argument of, well, is Ozzy the greatest runner-up ever? And should he have won? And is he the fan favorite? Is this who everybody wants to be? When in this episode, it's totally different. And I think that's what's kind of cool, though, is you get to see all sides of Ozzy in this episode. But he's very cocky here. Very cocky.
I mean, Christina calls it out here. She says, like, I hate being told what to do by someone 10 years younger than me. And you were talking with Genevieve and Sari, great doing it back to back. Well, it's great doing that episode back to back with this one, because Saul says the same thing about Rome, like, telling him what to do. It's just like, this twerp is telling me what to do. And Ozzy is like, I know what to do in this situation. So you just kind of have to suck it up and listen to me. And it's like, but you can phrase it differently. You can make it so you're not diminishing your social game with certain people and making Christina push to vote you out instead of Billy.
But that's what is so pivotal to Ozzy as a character, right?
Oh, no.
Because yes, Christina is saying, oh my God, this kid is telling me what to do. Like, what is going on here? And Ozzy's saying, yeah, I probably wouldn't like it if some kid was telling me what to do either, but I'm still going to do it because he still thinks he's right. And that's the thing. And even as we progress through this episode, and there's the conversation at tribal council about whether or not a leader has emerged on the tribe or anything like that. And everyone's like, yeah, I mean, Ozzy's kind of stepped up in that leadership role. And Ozzy pushes back on it because he kind of knows the negative connotation of the leader role in Survivor. But at the same time, there's that subtle arrogance to everything he says. And that is what's so defining of Ozzy, I think, is he just thinks he's the best person out there at all times. The conversation he has with Christina about the trap they're setting up to catch the chickens, it's just like, Christina, you've just never been camping. Like, what are you talking about?
But I feel like pulling the trap to catch the chicken in a basket is not that like outlandish of a deal idea instead of just dropping the net on the chicken. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's six of one, half dozen of another.
How much do you love Ozzy, McKenna? Let me get this out of the way. So, like, out of everybody who's on this
Parvati fan, what do you expect?
You're most looking for.
I will say I do not have an eye to buff.
That's crazy. I'm shocked to hear that because the way so far that you're talking about Ozzy, I feel like this is your favorite player. Now, I'll deal with the slander for Ozzy because I don't have as much of a connection, but you try to do this during the coach episode and I'm going to make you cry before you get out of here. So I'm just saying. But look, I get it though, because this was probably, so as we do every season matters, which I brought up a couple times on here, as we do every season matters, and we're going through and we're on to Nicaragua now over there on the Patreon, and we're making our way through. Cook Islands was one of the most shocking rewatches to me because of what the legend of all these players is compared to what actually takes place on screen in Cook Islands.
Yes.
Cook Islands to me actually isn't that good of a Survivor season. And I always used to think it was a great Survivor season. But now, let me pull up my ranking here because we're through 20 full seasons. And where I have this ranked, and McKenna, I'm getting to the point, don't worry, I can see you're like cringy. You're like, but Parvati's there.
No.
Look,
I think we had 40 seasons and I just haphazardly ranked seasons and put Cook Islands at 6. So, you know.
I mean, first 20 seasons, I have it ranked at 16, okay, through 20. And here's the thing with this season, though, and why I have it ranked so low. This is the worst version of Parvati.
Yeah.
By far. It's the worst version of Ozzy, in my opinion. I know, other than until you get to Game Changers. Game Changers Ozzy is brutal. But this is the third best version of Ozzy. Yule is what this season is about, right? Like an Ozzy helping him get there. But if it's really not for Penner, there's not much. Penner and Yule are, to me, the rooting interests of this season because Ozzy, there's something about him early on that's kind of unlikable. But as you now know the legend of these players, as I'm watching Cook Islands, I'm saying to myself, how good of Survivor to realize what they had with their cast here. Because in any other show, Parvati's playing one. She's a one and done. Candace is a one and done. Penner's coming back, sure, but Ozzy's probably. I mean, Ozzy winning all the challenge and the post merge definitely helped. But it's just crazy to watch these early episodes of the show and go, so this is the beloved man, because it takes a while for Ozzy to become Ozzy. And now I think that, like, again, casual fans are so pumped he's going to be on there. McKenna, you're doing some eye rolls here, but at the same time with who
I think
Ozzy
Survivor 50 needs Ozzy for sure.
That's
like I'm not doubting his like placement on 50. I think he deserves the spot because of who he is. I'm just not a fan of his character. Though I will say 2 of his seasons, though not great seasons, have become comfort seasons to me. Cook Islands and yes, South Pacific.
Say it. Yeah.
So like it just is like they're bad seasons, but they're like good to me. They're not good. I don't know how to describe it, but they're like comfort seasons. So like I am used to seeing Ozzy, and I think he deserves 50, no doubt.
Yeah. but it's tough. Like, you know, his defining episode, if you really think about what is Ozzy's defining episode in the history of the show, is probably in South Pacific when he throws the challenge to go to Redemption Island and then wins his way back in. That's probably the defining Ozzy moment. But we were only going by first seasons. And so when you start to look at this in the post-merge, you can't say any of them are Ozzy's episode because Ozzy wins immunity, but Yule's doing all the strategizing. Right. And it really is focused more on Penner, Candace, Yule, a little bit of Parvati.
Ozzy was going to get voted out had the mutiny not happened. Like they were looking to get Ozzy out because of his athletic ability.
Yeah.
So
they were booed him before the merge.
He was forced to be kept.
And so it's kind of weird when now we're doing this podcast and what's fresh in all of our heads is episode number 2 of Survivor 13. I don't know if it is the best definition of Ozzy, right? But I don't know if there is an episode in Cook Islands that truly captures what Ozzy has become to give him that spot that he does deserve on 50. Even if some of us are tired of him, he deserves a spot on 50. But I don't think you can find the episode that is his defining episode that leads to that in his first season. I think he's the only player like that.
I don't know if Ozzy has a singular defining episode is the thing. And I think that comes from the fact that he is, we talked about it many times when it comes to Ozzy. McKenna, you and I have talked about it on the rewind whenever we get to an Ozzy episode. He's not this big strategic mastermind that we praise like we do with other players who we're seeing on this season. The reason why he deserves to be on 50 is because he is representing this archetype that is, yes, it's the challenge beast archetype, but he's also the survivor man archetype that emerged in this era too, right? And that's what we see in this episode is, yes, we have the kind of bully Ozzy mentality, which I think is very indicative of his character on Survivor, despite the fact that you talk to anyone who knows Ozzy in person, they say he's the nicest person in the world. Everyone who has interacted with him, and lots of people have interacted with him because he has been out there at all the fan events as of recent. So he was preparing himself for this. He's super nice and really easy to get along with, but we don't see that. But part of that's also because, have you tried talking to a 24-year-old recently? It's impossible. Like I'm just putting it out there. Sorry, 24-year-old listeners. It's impossible to talk
to 24-year-olds all the time, John. You're just curmudgeon. That's the problem.
I know.
Everybody at my job is at least 3 years younger than me, putting them at 26 or younger. So
I work in government. Everyone at my job is twice my age, so it's very different. But the point being is, like, there is that arrogance. You're still in that point of your life when you're 24 where the world revolves around you. Right? You're not broken down by the world around you yet to kind of realize that you're inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. You're 24, you're on reality TV on a season with a bunch of hot people. And what else are you supposed to act, right? Like you're still supposed to have this character to you when you're on reality TV. And I think we kind of forget that sometimes, especially in new era casting, where we're not really getting characters as much as we are getting, because like this is a time of recruits, right? These are people who are being recruited to play the show.
And you know, everybody saying, you know, you're supposed to be on reality TV and be hot. You're supposed to just be listening to a Survivor podcast, and now you know that you're inconsequential. So thanks, John. Thanks
sorry.
Morality.
Yeah, also like this video, subscribe to the channel for more really positive.
Listen to John some more. But I will say, Ozzy does have a great way of taking control of a tribe. He does it a lot within his seasons because he proves himself to be like really worth keeping around in the tribal phase of the game. And so a lot of people look to him as, what do we do next? Where do we go from here? So he proves himself very valuable, at least within the tribal phase of the game.
Yeah. And I think what's tough for me here is Ozzy hasn't always been a great, like, nobody talks about Ozzy from a strategic standpoint, right?
No.
But Ozzy doesn't make a lot of blunders in Survivor either, right? Like in Game Changers, he just doesn't have, like, there is no strategy. Nothing happens.
I think Cochran is his biggest blunder in his seasons.
That's the biggest blunder. And the thing is, though, if they didn't know how Christine felt about being voted out. They knew how their tribe felt. They didn't know how Christine felt. So they thought that it was the right move. But like when you even look at Micronesia, that's not really a blunder. That's more that he just got.
Yeah.
this episode, that's why it's also weird. This feels like we picked the one moment where Ozzy actually might have made a bad move, which was getting rid of Billy here. Like, it feels like a bad move to throw the challenge and vote Billy out of the game, because Billy, and I think it's very fascinating because you're coming up now to season 50 where everybody here has earned their spot. Even if we don't necessarily agree that it's the best 24 people, they've all earned their spot. Why would you throw a challenge to get rid of a person like Billy? Nowadays, you're looking to find who is my Billy that I can make sure will be the target over me every single time. And so that's where it's very interesting on a 20-person cast. The first time we see 20 people actually play the game, because in Palau we see 20 people, but they don't play the game. There's 20 people. We have 4 tribes of 5. If you just watched Panama, which he probably did, you know that those 4 tribes of 4 swapped out after one episode. So it makes sense that there's going to be a swap coming soon. Why not just pretend to be nice to Billy? And so that's where I wonder with Ozzy, can Ozzy turn it off enough on this season and put the ego aside enough that people say, I get along with Ozzy, but he's also somebody who's worth keeping around as a shield, or perhaps as a good ally who I can strategize with? Or is Ozzy just going to be Ozzy and he's going to say, I don't like this person, so I don't like this person, and I don't want to talk to him?
I think as we hit Game Changers, Ozzy dropped a bit of the camp life, we need hard workers, we need strong challenge people. I mean, you still want that, but it's not like at his it's not his focus of how he wants to build allies and a tribe anymore. Like, Billy was really getting on his nerves because he was lazy, not doing anything, not chopping the wood, not making, getting water, not doing this, that, and the other thing. And we see that with Cochrane. He's not performing in the challenges. He's not doing this, that, or the other thing. Again, he just got in Micronesia, but he was building his alliance with Amanda, someone he found was really pretty. Parvati and James were the other kind of couple around, so they buddied up. So he's building his alliance of stronger people, where I think in Game Changers, he was really kind of just like going with the flow and letting things happen a bit more.
Yeah. Which wasn't good for him either. So now what happens on 50? Is he better to be trying to take control?
He has to find a strategic ground where he can do the ebb and the flow of like, let someone take the move, let me take the move, and that kind of thing.
But the thing is also that Ozzy, I mean, we talk about Ozzy as this challenge beast, but we talked about in all the build up to season 50 that he's not the only challenge beast going into this season. And it kind of insulates him a little bit, where it's like we're not going to get a Cook Island situation where it's like, okay, we have to get rid of Ozzy before we get to an individual immunity run, because there are going to be enough different challenge threats that it doesn't matter. It's also the new era, and Phil, you've talked about this many times. The challenges now are not the same as the challenges were in Cook Islands that Ozzy was winning.
It's going to be great to watch him do Get a Grip, and it's going to be a completely different challenge, essentially.
Yeah.
But Ozzy is really good at I need to be Speedy Boy, water, or like pain endurance. But a lot of these were like strength, muscles, upper arm situations where we have Joe and Jonathan who are like jacked.
So considering, we're talking about the Billy move was a strategic move by Ozzy. The South Pacific move is a strategic move by Ozzy. Both of those ultimately don't look like they're actually good moves in the long run for him. Can Ozzy strategically keep up on this season? Because we know physically he's good, but the challenges have changed too much. So can he keep up strategically, or is this a short-lived season for Ozzy?
I don't think it's short-lived, but I don't think it's long-lived either. I think he's going to hit his same placement of like juror 1 to 4.
Yeah, he's made the merge every time.
Yep.
I think the bigger thing here is, has Ozzy realized that the strategy side is the weaknesses in this game, and he hooks up with someone who is that strategy for him? Obviously,
Genevieve, let's go.
I mean, Ozzy Genevieve, he's played with Cirie twice already. You don't think that connection's there?
It's on the rocks though, because Cirie blindsided him. They worked together in Game Changers, and Cirie was blindsided when Ozzy went home. So I don't know where the relationship stands. Did they actually make up in Game Changers? So that that's what a relationship I'm really looking forward to watching is
But
the Ozzy.
the point I'm trying to make though is like Ozzy, if Ozzy can identify his own weaknesses and supplement them with someone else, which is probably what most people in 50 have to do, he could very well be someone who pushes to the end and is charismatic enough to win a final vote at the end too.
I don't think he has a shot in hell.
Okay.
I think I said that on the Everything I Need to Know. Look, I've done so many of these podcasts at this point that I don't remember what I've said about everybody, but I'm pretty sure I've been pretty true to Ozzy that I don't think he has a shot in hell.
I don't think he's winning. 100%.
Either. Don't think so. 100%.
I went from being the depressing person on the podcast to the positive one, so it's all good.
Is it positive if Ozzy wins this season? I don't know, John.
I'm just being positive in general. That's
you might have depressed more people by saying you thought he had a chance. All right. That's going to do it for Ozzy's defining episode. So let us know if you think we got the right defining episode for him. I know I haven't said that the last couple episodes here, but next up, we're going to be doing Charlie, and we're talking Mama Bear, which is episode number 12 from Survivor 46. So get ready for that one. And thank you all so much for listening. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you next time.